Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Marketing Simple. This is your host Emmanuel and D4, and today we're going to be talking about what a marketing mix is. So, number one, if you are a student, if you are a budding entrepreneur, if you're an entrepreneur trying to get into, the startup space, or marketing student trying to turn in your assignment, we're going to cover what a marketing mix is today and how you can leverage the knowledge of marketing mix and turn in that paper or launch that product. So, what is a marketing mix? A marketing mix is simply the stages of product launches that companies or entrepreneurs follow to ensure that their product, their services can get the best traction when it's time to launch. And when you talk about a marketing mix, what are the elements that constitute of a marketing mix? You have the four P's. The first P is the product. You have the price, the placement, and promotion. And how can you start leveraging those four P's to, number one, launch your product, number two, get a job for yourself, which is thinking of it kind of a weird angle to use the four P's, but I actually think that it's it can serve a very good purpose if you actually know what you're doing. So let's start with the first P. The first P is the product. So as an entrepreneur, you want to, number one, solve a problem. You want to have a solution to that problem, and your product would give a solution to that problem. And if you are a student trying to get a job, right, you are your product. You are the product of your hard work. You are the product of everything you've done for the past 4 years in college if you're trying to get an entry level job. So you need to think exactly what that product is. Now, let's dive a little bit deeper into what that product should be. The first thing you want to look at is, as a product, what role should I serve? What is my purpose? If I am an entrepreneur and I am trying to solve someone's problem, if I'm trying to get into Startup America, the first thing you have to identify is, what problem am I trying to solve? And based on that problem, you would have a product that is going to be the solution to that problem. An example is going to be, like, you look at the landscape of disruption. You look at technologies that have disrupted the ecosystem in terms of how we interact with our community and how we interact with our society. You look at Uber, you look at Airbnb. The product is what? Convenience. They use the product of convenience. They use the technology to ease the transaction between the consumer, me, if I'm trying to order an Uber, to the destination for Uber. For Airbnb, they've used the convenience of trying to have access to multiple options outside of the traditional landscape of hospitality to give people the option to choose, cheaper options to get, the best possible vacation stay that they can. If I am a homeowner, I want to take advantage of my property, Airbnb gives me the opportunity. So my product as a homeowner is my house, and the service I'm providing is I'm providing a solution to someone's pain. It could be that person doesn't have enough money to pay for for a very ridiculous, 4 or 5 star hotel by the beach, or it could be that person just simply prefers a comfortable small setting versus a large hotel. That's the first product. So you want to identify what the problem is and how is my product going to solve that problem. The second thing is the price, right? There is always a price attached to anything. What is the price I'm going to charge for my service? And how does this relate to what my competitors are currently charging? Now let's go back to the example of Uber and Airbnb. You will always realize that price competition is something that companies always struggle with, and generally the cheaper your product is, the more people with low disposable income tend to use your service, especially the quality is good, right? So never forget quality. However, if you are a student, what is your price? If you're going into the job market, you need to understand what price or what wage you can command, right? It could be based on your experience. Note, if you are an entry-level student, right, you cannot command a huge wage because your product itself has not been well developed. Your product is you, your skill sets and experiences that you bring to the table. So you want to make sure that you really understand why you are charging what you're charging. What value does that bring to the recipient? It could be the company you're going to work for, or as an entrepreneur, it could be the consumers that I'm trying to solve the problems for. So you want to make sure like you do real good market research to understand why you should be number one commanding that price, and number two, is it viable, right? Is it something that it's worth just putting out there? If you charge a ridiculous amount of money for any product, if you are an entrepreneur, then obviously you're going to be outbid by your competitors. So you want to make sure that you're very careful with what you charge. The third thing is the placement. Number three is very important because I think when you look at the whole ecosystem of entrepreneurs trying to get to market, or a student trying to get a job, right? You need to understand why, number one, why you're making that product. Number two, what is the value, and where do your consumers live? What environment do they normally associate themselves with on a daily basis? If you are trying to market on social media, you have to understand what platform they use. But more importantly, if you are trying to build a brand, right, you need to think about something called positioning, brand positioning. And if you want to think of brand positioning, how are you going to create your product in a way that, number one, fits and identifies with your brand, the brand you're trying to create, and also the distribution of that product or service. So you need to think about a lot of elements that would constitute the placement. The placement is very critical when you want to make sure that the product reaches the consumers and the consumers can interact with the product and have a purchase. The fourth thing is promotion. I don't really like promotion because people always generally think that promotion, the cheaper your price is, the more people are going to engage with the product, but that's not what the case, right? So promotion is more so what are the other criteria, or what are the other elements that I can use to create awareness for my product. So if you're a student, what do you have to do to make employers get on employers' radar? If you are an entrepreneur, what are the things that you need to do to get in front of your consumers, and what elements of I can call it social distribution or social channeling can you use to ensure that people know about your product? Doesn't mean you have to pay for ad space. Doesn't mean that you have to license your product. Doesn't mean that you have to get a distribution partner to help you get your product to market, or to ease the logistics that comes along with that. If you're a student, what social channels get you in front of the right employers, and what's the cost of that? What's the cost associated with that, both for you and the employer? If it costs zero for an employer to find you on LinkedIn, and it costs zero for you to go on LinkedIn, then that's good news for everybody. So that's my whole take on the marketing mix and how you can use it as an entrepreneur or a student. If you watch this video, please subscribe to my channel or connect with me on LinkedIn. This is Emmanuel in D4, and I hope you have a good time. But we'll see if I actually post this.